I was working with memories, I was working with transparencies, and I was focusing my attention on the study of form as an organizational pattern of cellular structures. So I was looking for a partner supporting me to observe through the process of imaging the brain.
One of the defining paths for my professional career has been to try to bridge multiple levels of analysis in the nervous system. Actually, my original training was in behavior and what we might call systems neuroscience, trying to appreciate the nervous system and the brain as a large collection of pieces that are all necessary to work together in orchestra, perhaps. And my later training, in fact, was to dive down to a very small level of these individual synapses, these individual connections between single neurons.
Neurons observed by means of fluorescence scanning visually corresponded to a rhythm that I have always been searching for. By means of your lab's scanning, that rhythm emerges through light.
In biology, in neuroscience in particular, we use light not only to monitor the activity of the brain and of individual brain cells, but now we can use light to manipulate brain cells, to actually change their activity and develop experimental manipulations that let us test hypotheses of how activity in the brain drives behavior all through light.
In fact, as opposed to simple static views of their structures, your lab's microscopy allowed me to observe the activity of neurons and the conversations taking place among them. Actually, your original in vivo videos allowed me to step into the movement, creating a pattern that was done with layer and layer of maybe more than 3,000 photograms of neurons activity. Your models are chromatically processed for a faithful reproduction of their visual rhythm. And within the paper structures or in the long scrolls, images appear as small figures drawn just with China ink, often inspired by the lumps of paint or by the stance of the preparatory acid, rapidly executed with another layer of paper so that they can float and move upon the painting and not being too much, as we said, crystallized.
Could see between the one cell and the other just a little bit of space.
Yeah, the space between the cells. I try to be very, very faithful to, so that the rhythm, the morphological rhythm of the cell was respected into every single spine, which was since the beginning one point that we discussed it very much.
From there, this amazing creation. Quite a bit of advantage of these new approaches with a number of ways where we can harness the power of genetics to drive individual neurons to express molecules, proteins that light up when the cell is active, that not only give us a view to the shape, to the morphology of the cell, but actually give us a readout as to the activity of the cell itself, that fluctuations in light tell us something about the fluctuations in the neuron's activity and perhaps fluctuations in our own thoughts and our own behaviors.
When you stay in the process of intuition, you discover that it is a sort of practice, a sort of vision ahead, to leave it open, to follow those fluctuations and the infinite possibilities of the mind, to consider even an interruption of thinking as such. We need to leave some empty space. To me, that I work with images, I need them to rest. I need to be sure that they can have a place where they fade into the white. They are allowed to disappear. And specifically with neurons is also a way to pay an homage to the images, but at the same time to leave the neurons, let's say, free to be like transistors of informations, but never crystallized into thoughts, as we were saying, like drawing upon glass.
And one of the challenges in science, especially at this moment in history, is to realize that I will almost certainly not be successful, that we know so little, that all I can do is take part in a very long journey, of which I think we're at the beginning of. But I wonder a little bit whether or not that's not similar in some ways to an artist in simply trying to get the vision that's in your head out.